All right, next up we've got Stephen Brooks, one of the co-founders of Envision here, founder of Punta Mona Botanical Research Center and amazing eco village, and Daniel Pinchback, author of Return to Quetzalcoatl, Breaking Open the Head, and How Soon Is Now. Miranda, the executive director of Unify.org, as well as a bunch of other amazing things. And you guys want to come on up and talk about eco villages, new paradigm living, golden age, whatever you feel called to discuss.
What a potent time to have this conversation, huh? How the miracles of life brought the three of us up here right now. We've been rehearsing for 6 months, the three of us, for this panel, and I hope that we could do it like we've been doing it in rehearsal. Okay, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Mr. Sandman. So, the thing that's really coming to mind for me is how we are all on our own paths to the same dream. You know, we're all dreaming this it's just becoming clearer and clearer by the minute, isn't it? Raise your hand if you're feeling that. As you pass through these times with all this collective energy and thoughts and all these speakers and this music and this medicines and the children and just seeing everything that's happening here brings us into this space where it all becomes a lot clearer. You know, like, wait a minute, we need to live like this all the time. Like, I want to be able to walk out and bump into Daniel Pinchback and say, hey, let's go talk on a stage together and share. Let's, go eat the best food, and let's go celebrate the sunset and dance and have fun, and yet find that balance of having fun while really still staying present and continuing these conversations about, like, what's next? What are we going to do after Envision? How are we going to start taking steps towards, living this dream? And raise your hand if you pay rent. It's okay. No judgment. One of the goals I would have is to, like, figure out a situation where you're not paying rent, because, like, we're always trying to figure out where is our money going and who's profiting from it. And rent is a real weird one. Maybe you have a cool landlord that does good things with the money that you pay them, but ideally we can all start moving towards permanent, living realities that we're collectively creating, not part of a matrix that's already existing that we adapt to, but, like, really trying to recreate a whole new structure. And if not us, who? If not us, who? Like, if we're not going to stop paying rent and even if we live in New York City, like, collectively buying a building, we all have one rich friend that could probably put down the down payment, and we can pay their mortgage towards a collective dream and vision with a building, or you want to live in the country, there's, all kinds of things starting to pop up in California and upstate New York and Missouri, believe it or not. Missouri is actually the best state to create community, like, legally with zoning laws and stuff. Missouri is the state. It's also an interesting climate. So are we doing it like we did in rehearsal? So, yeah, that's where I'm at. I want us all to hit the fast forward button a little bit and start expediting towards your dreams and goals. Something's shocking me. Yeah. Like, even my lips are getting shocked by I don't know what that means. It's a sign. Yeah, welcome to Costa Rica, everybody. Raise your hand if it's your first time here. Wow, a lot of people's first time. Raise your hand if you live here. Awesome. Yeah, we're really on to something here in Costa Rica. Costa Rica has no army. That's awesome. And they're doing a lot of good things. And they're also spraying more toxic chemicals per hectare than any country in the world. Got to be real, right? There's a lot of cool things happening, though. There's a lot of balance happening. And I'm feeling so much faith in a lot of the community. So if you're liking it here, there's all kinds of great realities that you could plug into. We don't all need to start the community. And as a matter of fact, like, if you're thinking about starting a community, I would reconsider and see if there's one that's already started that probably needs your skills. Because it's really hard to start a community and raise the money and deal with all the legal and all the reality. But your skills could really be plugged into some existing one that's struggling, and there's many of them. What do you think about that, Daniel? Or any of the things I've said?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. As long as it's not going to shock me a bunch. Hi, I'm Miranda. I do work with a group called unify.org. We do global synchronized meditation since 2012. We're probably one of the largest decentralized autonomous organizations, which is really hard to explain what we even are a part of. And I say a part of because it's, to us, spirit orchestrated, but we've been a part of global synchronized meditations a lot around Peace Day and around different causes, helped with Standing Rock, Women's Day, Water Day, Yoga Day. But hundreds of millions of people have showed up before, not to every meditation that we do, but just sometimes to global synchronized meditation and hold intention for what they want to see in the world and just to be together. And for us to, all we do is create video that can help set an intention, a date and a time, and those go viral and people show up on the day and we're just in awe and cry all day and can't believe what's happening, really. But we have we have hundreds of volunteers come in for each campaign as well that just all show up out of the woodwork to help bring their region or make stuff happen, and it's incredible. But on my personal journey, I originally am a holistic nurse, and I saw how broken our systems are as far as health and wellness and families, and seeing that we're putting a Band-Aid or giving a pill to a problem that's so much larger. So I started living in intentional communities about 10 years ago and have lived in 3 different ones for many years. And now Unify is kind of in an experiment of trying to work with the different technologies and groups that are out there that have these big networks of intentional communities, Namundo and Gen and FIC, and helping awaken youth and millennials. That's one of our largest populations that we help affect and that we see awake on the planet and wanting a new world, but helping them to find all these intentional communities where they can go and learn and develop skills, but also have community and transformation and feel loved, but have the sovereignty and ability to bounce around as well. Like, stay committed for a while, learn, feel spirit, feel where you're guided to, but have freedom in that world. I've lived it, and I've sent a lot of kids and youth into this world to have an amazing adventure and go to Costa Rica and not come back, and all kinds of amazing journey there. But the intentional communities are as different as there are many. So having the ability to travel around and kind of see, but ask a ton of questions like, how do you do your leadership? How does your decision making work? How do you do your governance? And with Unify, we really want to see a day when a lot of these intentional communities are interconnected in a bigger way. And Numundo's working on a new currency to help create that. And Earth Nation, certainly many tools to try to help, people with the right skills get to the right places. And just watching the experiments go along is super exciting.
That was amazing. Both of you had to share. I guess I was thinking about Buckminster Fuller's ideas from operations. Buckminster Fuller is a design scientist. People know about Buckminster Fuller, and he wrote a book called Operation Spaceship Earth, where he basically was thinking about how, the world is like this incredible spaceship that was already operating perfectly, but it doesn't have any instruction manuals. So we're trying to now figure out the instruction manuals. And I think what Stephen is doing and Miranda are doing are part of that. We now have kind of the capacity to do things on a local scale, but then also create templates that can go transnational and global. And it's a very, very thrilling, somewhat terrifying moment we're in as a society. Just to mention my work a little bit, my first book was called Breaking Open the Head, and it was on psychedelic shamanism. I visited tribal cultures in the Amazon and Africa and Mexico, and kind of tried to understand the reason for the West's repression of the visionary experience. I wrote a second book, 2012, The Return of Quetzalcoatl, that was looking at prophecies of civilizations like the Maya and traditional cultures like the Hopi, and also Judeo-Christian ideas and Hindu ideas. And then my last book, How Soon Is Now, was kind of looking at the ecological crisis we're facing as something like a collective rite of passage or initiation for humanity as a species, in the same way like tribal societies around the world have a kind of initiation rite between boyhood or girlhood and adulthood, which through transpersonal experiences, people then can take on their roles of being leaders in their society and feel sort of a deeper level of community connection and earthly connection. So yeah, but I feel like all of that, all those different interests are reflected in Envision, which Stephen has built, and it's wonderful to be here again. Very grateful. Thank you.
Awesome. Miranda, I'm thinking of like just even this, like FIC is the Federation of Intentional Communities, and you talking about living in intentional communities, and I'm kind of moved away, like even a little bit from that reality, and more into ecological neighborhoods. There's different extremes in community. There's like the Tamara, where there's lots of processing and lots of communal decisions and communal housing and communal everything, to what, kind of what we're doing. So I live in a community with 45 families from 25 countries, and the parents co-created a school with 50 children in it. It's called La Ecovia, and it's really amazing. And what we did is we bought the land. My dad and I raised money. We bought the land, and then we put in the infrastructure, the most ecological infrastructure that we could at the moment that we could find. Like we put in recycled plastic graded roads. We have a methane digester for our septic. So like all of our septic turns into methane gas. We, instead of having like a golf course, we have like orchards and fruit trees, and our roads legally in Costa Rica, part of a condominium, that's like the law that we divided under. Your road needs to be 8 meters wide. So we did that, but 5 meters is road and 3 meters is green space along 1.4 kilometers of road. So it's just lined with fruit trees and gardens. So you drive in and literally your eyes well up with tears. It feels like we've staged it with, the old couple walking their dog and the children throwing fruit at each other from the trees and running around like animals. It feels really successful. And I think one of the reasons that it has been really successful is because we don't make that many decisions communally. We live in community. Like there's so many things we do communally, but we're not constantly trying to decide things together. And I think if we could figure that, we've all learned that the ecosystem could be easily manipulated and designed and created. Now we just need to understand this navigation of the ecosystem, and the more decisions that we collectively try to make, it's just, I think that has been holding us back, because what happens is these amazing visions and dreams start, and then they just spiral into ego hell. And then they just dissolve, or the course changes because just people couldn't decide things together, and people start not liking each other, and people break up, and so I think like what we've done with Ecovia was we put together a crew and put together the reality, and then people bought lots, whether they liked what we did or not. And then there was some things that are communal. We have like a really epic yoga space, and we have a kids like play court, and we have swimming pool, and we have things that have to get decided once a year. We have a big HOA meeting that we go, and we change the HOA budget a little bit. Most of our HOA goes to big baskets of food that we collect, get delivered to us every Wednesday of just abundance. So we as the developers, we set it up really well. It's a really good system, and there's not that many things to decide, and it's working. So. And the other thing that I've learned is I visited Damanhur in Italy, and I definitely wouldn't want to go move there, but I've learned some incredible lessons. Has anybody ever heard of it or been there, Damanhur? You guys been there? It's pretty amazing. So the lessons I took from there were, the most important was the sacred spaces that they have. They have this underground cave temple system that like literally they have like trap doors, and you like walk through this wall, and you're like, you come around these corners and your freaking jaw drops. It's like the psychedelic Sistine Chapel. No, I'm serious. It's amazing. And they've spent like 30 years doing it. And it's not like they hired some company to do it. They, as a community, did it.
Yeah, well, actually, they were doing it in secret for a long time.
Right.
As part of this esoteric philosophy. Yeah. And then the government was going to shut it down, but the Minister of Culture of the region came in and broke down weeping because it was so beautiful. And they let them keep it up.
And I think that's something it's a really great lesson. if what you're doing is illegal, but it's really good and beautiful, eventually it's going to be accepted. I've never said that before, but that's what I see happening a lot. That like, just don't be afraid if something's illegal. If it's righteous and beautiful, it'll be accepted eventually. So another thing about Dam and Her that I really appreciated was they had enough people that they had an urban center, which they called La Crea. It was an old typewriter factory where they have like a health food store and restaurants, and they have like an art space, and they have just these epic communal, like urban-y vibe. People are sitting around at cafes, and it's run by the community. And they're a federation of communities. They're like 7 or 8 properties that all have their own sub-governments, which is what I like. Yet they were under a guru who passed away. But I feel like what we're doing now, we have Ecovia where I live. There's another community up the road called Taco Tal that started around the same time. And then we just bought the 170 acres next door called Alegria Village. And all 3 of them, one thing they all have in common is that I was the founder of all 3 of them. And they're all based on permaculture principles, but there's not a guru. There's not.
I thought you were the guru.
No, I'm not. There's not like set, criteria to be a part of this federation.
You're not going to be the next Osho?
No. Jack is. You guys, that's Jack right there. Jack's my partner in Alegria Village, and I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't met him. It's a really big undertaking. It's unbelievable what Jack is overseeing right now. His teams, like water specialists and roads and environmental impact studies and financing and accounting, and it's just so many pieces. And, before you know it, we're going to be several hundred families living in this valley 45 minutes outside of San Jose. And I think it's replicable what we're doing. Like, I think like this model of ecological living merged with permaculture and vast food forest agriculture, focusing on children. Like I said, we have 50 kids in the school, and now in this new version, we're creating an elder village because we felt that we missed out on that. Like, we're taking great care of our kids, but what about our 75-year-old parents? What are we going to do with them? We're going to be stuck on our own trying to figure it out. But what if you have 100 friends that are also figuring it out? Then it's a lot easier. Same with your children. Same with your food systems. Same with your water systems. Same with your healthcare systems. All of a sudden, if we all need these things, we can collectively create it. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's amazing, but I'm really interested in all these different communities that are like different philosophies in practice, right? Like Brave Earth is more of a cooperative system where people don't actually own their own buildings. They have shares in the property as a whole. Okay, cool. Yeah, or Tamara, is like an experimental laboratory actually for peace relationships. Like, how do you create peace on Earth? And they realize you have to start that in the realm of intimate relationships.
Can you turn it up?
Yeah.
Can you tell them to turn it down? Anybody ask them to turn it down next week?
I don't think that's going to happen, Steve.
Maybe they asked us yesterday and we did.
No?
You have to put the microphone
Okay.
close, but it shocks your lips.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's shocking your lips.
Okay. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, so I was just saying that what Stephen is doing is great, but it's also fascinating that there's all these much more experimental communities. Like, if we decide we're going to play with the rules of what relationships are like or what communities are like, we can really stretch that, and they're like, Burning Man is an interesting template for high culture around a set of new ideas and so on. Yeah, so I like the fact there should just be more and more experiments until the best ones replicate, And how many people here saw the Osho documentary on Netflix, I mean, it did go wrong in the end, but those early days, the amount of euphoria that community had was extraordinary, like nothing I've ever seen before, Yeah.
Did you go there just for the documentary? Well, what can we learn from it?
That's crazy, the shocking.
I know, it's shocking.
If you touch that metal part or over here on this button.
These are shocking topics.
Yeah, you guys are so energetic. Yeah, this is fascinating study. As I said, I've lived in 3 different ones for 10 years trying to study and in the search of, is there a system of health and wellness that can provide for the children, the families, each individual person, the elderly, permaculture, grow food, have sustainable practices, all of this kind of stuff. Is there a way that we can have whole system solutions that are real? And I think everybody that's in this is definitely in an experiment of that. And there's no one right answer. There's many beautiful answers, and for what feels good for each person. That's why I said doing a lot of exploring is the most beautiful piece of this. And so many beautiful people just drawn together in the collaborative intention, though, and the intention to find the most holistic happiness, health and wellness, factors that can exist together and build that together. And for me personally, I did run into so many of the problems with governance or trying to get a whole body of people, even if it's 100 or 1,000, to come into consensus or argue with each other until they hate each other and want to kill each other and then all leave. Or, I've been very intimately a part of a lot of that in living with these communities. And I have children, and it's, there's complicated things about all of this, but it's still a beautiful world to learn and co-create and be a part of. But I personally feel I really want to hear a lot more about your community, because I do. Tonight? Well, we leave early in the morning. Like, I'll be around all night tonight, but
Can't see it this trip.
yeah, I'll come back. That's part of the reason being here, figuring out where I got to come back and see next. But I feel that there's a thing coming as well. I feel that what we have inside one property that can be done as an intentional community is restricted on the amount of people that can come there. And there's a lot of times a waiting list, and it's not solving a problem for all of humanity. And finding the decentralized ways that we connect in community, like what you guys are doing. What do you want to connect around? People are connecting around yoga or co-working spaces or fellowship spaces where they can be together, but not have to make every decision together. And I'm most recently living in Crestone, Colorado, which is just a little bitty town in the mountains that has 25 spiritual centers, and it's kind of like a hidden spiritual mecca. But I'm seeing we're working on the emergence of, there's a whole lot of properties that are already in a place of being granted to people for spiritual work and for community, but haven't had a lot of manpower to kind of make that happen the rest of the way. So I love the concepts of metacurrency and time banking and being able to connect when you need to connect, and flow resources to help build community that everybody can own, that's also not based on just a land property, but seeing a whole town or a region have all these little nodes and hubs that can be interconnected, and all the people being nodes within that are interconnected as well. So just another experiment that we're working on.
Yeah, I want to thank Unify like several times. I'm not even sure how, but I guess my friend Alana Jaroff was connected with somebody there, and Amanda Sage. We've done a bunch of Facebook Lives that Unify's shared that has really helped us, spread our word. I'm excited to do more of that. Yeah, it was great. No, it's great. Like with Amanda Sage at Punta Mona, we've, I don't know, one of them got like 70,000 views of, of her and I just doing kind of what we're doing. I mean, I don't know anything more important. We have to figure this out. Like, we have to. It's extremely urgent. It's extremely, extremely urgent that we figure this out, because it's up to us, because it's like we have been blessed with these medicines and this consciousness, and it's like we could pretend like, it's like Sion's ego-y, but we've been gifted an awareness about, and we're all in different places in the spectrum of like what we've become aware of. But we know it's fucked up, and we know we need to radically shift things, and we need to become much better designers and much better team players and much better executors. It's like, I think one thing that's hurting our movement, I'm really interested to hear what you think of this, is that people just want to dive. My neighbor Patty, may he rest in peace. I met him when he was 67. He was an old Jamaican man. We lived together for over 20 years. He died at 84. And he used to say, boy, you need to creep before you walk. You can't just get up and walk one time, boy. And it's like, we can't just like take ayahuasca and then think we're going to stop using money. You know what I'm saying? It's like, There's a transition, and we need to gracefully transition from the way things were to the way they're becoming, to the way we're dreaming them, to the way we're miraculously manifesting these people around us to execute this next rendition of what's possible, you know? So don't think that like tomorrow you're gonna stop using money, you know? And it's like sometimes some hippies will, why is your lot so expensive? You know, or like, like why is there money? Why do you charge, you capitalist pig? You know, and it's like, I mean, maybe not that much, but like I get that kind of hit from people, and I'm like, yeah, like it sounds great to not use money. Like, recently, do I have any Puntamonians here? Recently, we had we live in community in Punta Mona. We're a retreat center, and we get so comfortable in community, and then high season comes. And then we're a retreat center. We're all like running retreats, and we're just kind of like, damn, I just wanted to be like in community again. And this one dude was like, yeah, it's all you and your money systems and these groups. And I was like, brother, if you got a trust fund and you could pay our 16 workers and their 23% of their salaries of insurance that I have to pay every 2 weeks, and the hardware store bill that was just $680. If you can start covering all those things, let's stop doing the retreats. I'm just trying my best to try to figure out how to dance in the old paradigm, and still, keep moving forward into another way. And it's like around us, these things are happening. The cryptocurrency, I don't really even know about it or want to even understand it. I know it's happening around me. I know there's smarter people in that realm doing it. And you don't have to worry about the fruit tree varieties. I'm fucking on it, man. I'm collecting everything. Oh shit. You guys want to eat mame zapote? If somebody wants to go in that last cabin this side, stick your hand in that sack and find like 3 or 4 soft ones. And if somebody has a knife, we can pass around some mame zapote right now. I got that part covered for like tropical genetics in the future of agriculture. I'm on it. If you're ready to start your place and that's something you need, or if you live in California, that guy right there can help you. He knows it all. He knows it all. He knows all the fruit trees up there, and where to get them and how to move them around and how to tend them. He's planted thousands in schools all over California, man. Amazing. Common Vision. Have you guys heard of Common Vision? Seriously, one of my greatest heroes. I mean, they used to go around and just plant fruit trees in schools, like underprivileged schools in California, and they would do these like African, like they were mostly like inner city Afro-American schools, and they would go in and do African planting ceremonies and plant trees in schools in their big hippie veggie bus. And the reason we even know each other, because I used to run veggie buses from California to Costa Rica because I wanted to stop flying. And so I did it 2 years in a row. We brought big caravans of vegetable oil-powered buses. And of all the things I've done in my life, I feel like it was the one that I literally had the most impact. Like, we were on this show called Primer Impacto, which is like the 2020 of the Spanish-speaking world. This is before there was like Unifies with 5 million followers or whatever. This was like, you had to be on the news to get shit out. And so like literally they followed us all the way through Central America, and we got to like literally hand the mic. What do you want to say to 350 million people right now? And like literally, like I knew that's the reality. And like the camera's in your face, and it's like, we need to learn where our food's coming from, and our water, and our fuel, and how is it affecting the earth, and how is it affecting people, and how can we do things better? What kind of waste are we all making? How can we stop making it? It's like so simple. Like in permaculture, the first day of the course, I warn everybody, like, I'm going to be blah, 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 saying all these things to you in the class, 72 hours of curriculum, and half the time you just want to be like, duh. You know that word? Duh. It's like, fuck, this is so obvious. We've become so complicated and numb that the solutions to so many of the things that we're trying to figure out are so freaking simple. They're right there in front of our noses. Yet we just overthinking it and overanalyzing, and I think the part that's so difficult is the transition from the money system and the old ways into the new ways.
Right. Well, I mean, and then also, I mean, the unbelievable levels of emergency that we're facing ecologically. I mean, obviously it's amazing what you're doing here and what everybody's building here, but, we're losing 7 football fields worth of Amazon jungle every minute, and the Amazon provides 20% of we're losing 7 football fields worth of the Amazon jungle every minute of every day. And, the Amazon provides 20% of the oxygen that we breathe. So how do you see, Stephen, in a way, that kind of how do we how does what you're doing apply to scaling up to that level?
Thank God I have friends that started Amazon Watch and people that are doing Rainforest Action Network. And we all have to do our part. My piece, and it's so crystal clear, is I want to figure out merging where we live with thanks, brother. Where we live with what we eat. How can we buy land, design it so people can start living there? How can we take care of our children better? I mean, I got a pretty big task at hand. And I'm stoked that other people. And one of the solutions to that rainforest destruction is creating corridors. And with all of our communities, we don't look for rainforested land. We look for mostly degraded land that we need to regenerate. And then we find, and we design beyond our borders. So we find the existing forests on our land, and we start connecting corridors with our neighbors. And that's part of our macro design. And where there is forest, we try to extend those forests and reforest. I mean, that's just part of our manual of community creation, because usually you'll find land that'll have X%, what we call here potrero, like cattle pasture, because that's what most of it is. And we like that. We like a lot of cattle pasture. I actually really like the most is Tacotal, is like agriculture that's been abandoned for 3 or 4 years because it's already regenerating, because the earth is in this perpetuate state of healing itself. It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing. I know sometimes I don't like to say this, but it's not too late. And we have really screwed things up, but the earth regenerates so freaking fast. She wants to heal so bad. That doesn't mean we don't have to, it's not a state of emergency anymore. It still is. But the fact that the earth regenerates itself so fast, we just need to just shift the whole paradigm of design and our role in that, and the possibilities that we have to really radically do things differently. That's my friend Kara back there. You guys, that's Jack and Kara. They're both my partners in Alegria. And we're really working hard to dream up this dream. And we're having a dinner, farm-to-table dinner on Wednesday at our property. It's right on the way to San Jose. So if you're still around, you should all come to it and see what we're doing. It's a new moon, so we're having a party, and of course. And we're right on a crystal clear river that you can lay naked on big hot boulders and roll into crystal clear pools. When? Wednesday. Yeah. Yeah, if you have any questions, you can check in with Kara. And, yeah.
So awesome. I wish I was here till Wednesday, but I'll be back. And yeah, at Unify, we're infinitely hopeful, and we have a perspective that we can see something so huge going on that is actually not a part of the media. I mean, we talk about it all the time, but we're in the middle of one of the largest awakenings of humanity and a spiritual renaissance. And even the young people, I mean, a lot of our media in the US isn't covering this, and I don't know about other places, but 30,000 youth are skipping school to take to the streets in Europe and protest climate change. A 15-year-old girl, Greta Thunberg, has been speaking at the United Nations since she was 12 at the environmental summits, and is basically saying the solutions are out there, but our leaders aren't listening to us. So I'm just here to warn you and get ready. The young people are coming, and we're going to change this world. And it is beautiful. Extinction Rebellion is another one, the yellow vests in Europe. If you haven't seen the videos of this stuff and the people taking to the streets saying, change our economic systems, change the slave culture, change the capitalism, change everything for climate change the way that we produce, source, get energy, and stop doing it in non-renewable ways, stop hurting our planet. And this is only the beginning of seeing these kind of uprisings, and it just came to America at the end of January as well, Extinction Rebellion, and we're excited. I mean, we're super excited. It's on. And yeah, and the intentional community movement is just one of the pieces of that. I mean, through FIC and Gen, there's 2,000 plus intentional communities that you can just hop online and say, hey, I'm coming to visit. What do you have to teach? What kind of internship programs do you have? What can I learn? What family can I be a part of? What community can I be party too, definitely. It's been the most exciting journey in my life when I found conscious community and found this movement and transformational community that just never stops. Everybody's gonna keep going and make it a party and make it fun and have joy and have family and have community. And it's epic. And I'm glad you guys are here.
I'm just so excited. I'm so stoked. Thank you guys so. Ow, fuck.
Don't touch it.
I'm so excited that you guys joined us. There's so many places you could be, and you've decided to be here. It was pretty. We did it. We nailed it pretty much like we did in rehearsal. And yeah, don't be afraid. Like really, really come up with your biggest possible dream ever and start going there. Like do it. There's no more time to wait. It's time. Love you guys. Thank you. Nice to meet you and see you. Yeah, cool.